put absolutely everything I had into that second fight to make sure that I got my belt back, and I believe I should have on that night, as do the millions of people who watched the fight. Obviously very tough coming home empty-handed without my world title after I believe I did everything I needed to in the ring that night and was absolutely on fire.
I remember speaking to you, it must have been just a couple of hours after the second fight, after the robbery. I was just utter devastation. What were the next couple of days like? How do you even start to process it? What goes through your mind? How do you mentally deal with it?
Devastated that they'd taken away that moment from me, because it just would have been so special for myself and for our team and for my family to come back over here and redeem myself so quickly afterwards. And it just would have been such a great satisfaction to get that world title back and get revenge from that loss, the only loss on my record. But then obviously I had a huge amount of support after that fight from all around the world. My social media just went crazy and just had so much support of everyone telling me that they know that I'm the real champion, and to keep my chin up, and that made things easier for a few days, just knowing that the whole world knows that I won that fight. But then as time goes on and I come home without that belt, that sort of support starts to die down, and you got to think of every day thinking that I should have that world title back right now, and I don't. That's been in my mind every day for the last 9 months, and I've used that as motivation to train extremely hard and to make sure that I leave no stone unturned and that I get that world title back in this fight, and I'm very confident I'm going to do that.
Yeah, I remember seeing Franco walking out with the belts, and he was carrying on a little bit. Like when he's carrying on like that, like how does that sit with you now? Him basically trying to celebrate that he's still got the belt.
Yeah, I mean, it actually wasn't Franco himself. He didn't have a word to say that night. Even in the ring, while we stood there for 28 minutes or so, he had his head down, and he knew 100% there was no head clash, and I believe he was very worried that the right decision was going to get made and they were going to overturn the decision in my favour. But unfortunately, he got very lucky that night and they didn't. But yeah, even on the way out the ring, when the rest of his team had a lot to say to me, he didn't have one word to say because he knew that he was beaten that night. The decision was just a total robbery and a joke.
He's got to know that, it's sort of like an illegitimate title that he's still got, right?
I'm 100% sure that he knows deep down, when he looks himself in the mirror, that he doesn't deserve that belt right now. I'm sure he knows there was no head clash, and I'm sure the rest of his team knows that too. So I'm expecting that he's going to be very determined this time around after, the embarrassment of carrying that belt around for the last 9 months. I'm sure he's going to have a lot to prove this time, but I'm even more determined, and I've got even more to prove than what he does, and I want that belt back more than anything. I believe I'm going to come out with it on August 15 Australia time.